Hello there, and welcome to the latest instalment of the TRF Lions podcast series, charting the British and Irish touring team as they attempt to overcome the Wallabies down under this summer. I'm Tom Davis, and with me on the sidelines tonight are TRF regulars Robert Rudge and Ian Miles, who will mull over Warren Gatland's side's dramatic first test victory in Brisbane, Australia's growing injury crisis, and the respective footwear of Curtly Beale and James Horwell. We'll kick things off with our West Walian man in the know. Rob, did the best team win on Saturday?
I think it's a bit debatable, to be honest. I think, the Lions play some good rugby. I think Australia plays some good rugby. But if you don't take your chances, that's what happens. And I think, there's some pretty proud Welshmen on our pitch when Beale missed that kick at the end. I think a lot of them were thinking, oh no, not again. Too many times we played Australia, it's that last minute job. So yeah, I think, it was nice to see Curtly Beale slip over and Lions get a victory.
Yeah, it's a tough one to call because on the course of the game, you should always say the Lions played the better running rugby. Australians, if anything, matched us in the pack, anything surpassed us. And then you've got the whole James O'Connor missing, 4 or 5 kicks. So if he'd have nailed those, as Stuart Barnes kept on banging on about, as if they'd have been clear at one point. So it's a tough one to judge. Yes, we deserve to win because we were the threat, I'd say, over the 80 minutes. But they had the far better, more opportunities.
Yeah, I think the Lions played some good rugby in patches. But I think Australia looked undercooked at times. You could tell the difference in the match preparation, was it? Australia played some low-level South Wales or whatever, South Wales, Australia or whatever side. And you could tell the difference in the intensity that the Lions could, raise the game. But I think what was crucial, had Cuthbert or North scored that second try, I think, when the Lions were on the front foot, the Lions could have really blown that away, the game away, I think, because Australia were under the cosh.
That dive into the corner.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah.
I think if you'd have got that one, we could have romped away with that one.
I agree with that. When Cuthbert scored his try to make it 2012, I thought then that the Lions were really going to push on and put Australia to the sword. I think this was as soon as that happened, the front row calls, the Gatland made the change, and I just didn't understand. Well, it turns out that was the wrong call. As soon as Corbusiero and Adam went off on 50, then it all went to pot, really.
This goes back to the Gatland set plan. He's done it with Wales in the past, where he just takes off players for the sake of taking them off. They've got to work themselves into the ground for 50 minutes or whatever, and then they get taken off. But both Adam and Corbusiero ran themselves all over the park on Saturday, but you felt they still had at least 10 minutes plus in the tank. At that stage, the scrum was going very well, and both were looking really, really good. Adam was very, very prominent in the tight, and Corbusiero carried really well and scrummaged really well. So it was a baffling decision at the time, and to take 2 off at the same time, again, was nuts. If you are going to take Adam Jones off first, or you're going to take Corbusiero off first, and then let the other guy blood in for the game. But obviously Gatland knows best. Yeah, well,
I can understand Corbusiero's replacement because obviously he was visibly struggling from very early on. The fact that he made 50 minutes was quite impressive. The Adam Jones being subbed after so early in the game just smacked of 2003, really, when they just saw he was a complete liability fitness-wise. But he's not that anymore, and he's the best tight end in the world. And the people I was watching with, we were all baffled.
Yeah, you can understand the Corbusiero because he had that calf injury early on, and it turns out that's lingered on, so he might not even play this week. But yeah, taking off Adam Jones then is, I don't think anybody can justify it completely. Only Gatland can, really. Everyone's kind of just questioning it in a way. Especially, I wouldn't mind if the replacements were as good in the scrum, but they weren't. From there, we went backwards. Obviously, not blaming the Australians for surging on the replacements, that'd be silly, but we certainly didn't. We lost that edge we had over them in the scrum.
Do you know, I also felt that one thing as the game was going on, Gainey was starting to come back into the game a bit more. He faded quite a lot after this try. Gainey did fade in and out quite a bit. Sorry, not Flowers' try, but with the one he set up.
Yeah.
But you felt that he was fading in and out of the game, and all of a sudden he had that little spark of that half break, and he was gone. And then you knew from then the game was going to change. And I think that was one of the weaknesses of the Lions on Saturday, was the defence around that breakdown area. And I thought the defence was shaky at times, and it's a pity. I keep going back. Well, I finally admit to it. I think the Lions are missing Sean Edwards. I don't think Farrell's the guy.
Well, you pinpoint defence around the fringes. Who would you highlight as being the main reason for that? Would you perhaps?
I think the back row is the problem, to be honest. You have, when you have Croft and Heaslip in the same side on that back row, you're playing ultimately with two extra wingers. Yes, Croft gives you that line option, but he doesn't do the work in the tight. Now, if you either had Lidgett starting or Sean O'Brien, as I like to see, the breakdown wouldn't be such a mess, and the defending would probably be a bit better. Because sorry.
Sorry, the fact is that in that first 10-15 minutes, the main person attacking the breakdown was Brian O'Driscoll, which shows what kind of Crofts and Heaslip, their main focus wasn't to get that ball on the floor, or at least compete for the ball. They were trying to attack the fringes, attack the kind of the first receiver. So when you get Brian O'Driscoll fighting for the ball and arguably getting penalised when he shouldn't have been, that just says a lot about the back row and what their focus was in that game. Yeah,
well, to me, both of those early penalties shouldn't have been. They were legitimately won by O'Driscoll, but we're not going to dwell on the referee's performance. I think nothing to be said about that. But no, well, Rob's highlighted a few of the things that didn't go quite so well for the Lions on Saturday. Ian, what do you think stood out in the performance?
The counter-attack was one of the main plus points, especially with George North's try. But you got to sense every time the Australians kicked to that back three, they were going to do something with it. Whether it was a high ball into a dangerous area or like North make that break and score in the corner, that was brilliant. But they looked like they were on the ball, and not so much the Australian defence was scared of them, but they were a bit standoffish, especially when North just goes straight forward. There aren't many that can stop him. I think the Australians kind of knew that, so they not half-assed it, but they hesitated slightly, and so and the back three capitalised on that. That was the main.
Do you think that's why Barnes rushed up in defence to try and get in his face, but it just didn't work?
I think that's the only thing you could do. I think if you kind of bury Barnes in that situation, you've got George North with a lot of space on his left-hand side. You've either got to go in and just see what happens, because you're not going to pace him trying to chase him into the corner. So he was in a lose-lose situation. It was a bad kick, and he was just left on a pedestal, and he got knocked off there.
Yeah, I thought every time our back three had the ball, they looked extremely dangerous. I think North setting that first try, it's going to be up there probably with some of the best tries that you'll see when they ever do a montage of Lions' best tries. It'll be up there with Robinson's one for a start. But you just thought every time that back three was going to get the ball, they're going to score. Other positives, I'd probably say line out. Although, we play conservative in line out, we threw a lot of front ball, we still won ball. I think that was, big plus point. So hopefully now they can build upon that and throw a bit more to the middle and back, and to allow whoever's going to play at 12 in the second test just get us over that gain line a bit more. And I also thought, I think Warburton, people, he didn't make the turnovers, but I tell you what, he led. He made over 14 tackles, and he was literally tackling his heart out. He was at the breakdown, did a lot of work, and considering the amount of, I felt that sometimes Croft and Heaslip could have done a bit more. I thought Warburton did extremely well, and he captained well. He's got a manner. I think that's why Gatlin's got him as captain. But I think Brian O'Driscoll's the same thing. They're guys who can talk to a referee in a certain way. So if there's any chance of a 50-50 decision, it'll go in the favour of the Lions, type thing.
Yeah, well, moving quickly back to focus on the wingers. As you said, the British and Irish Lions wingers had excellent games. on the opposite side, certain Israel Folau on debut scored 2 tries and was named man of the match. The Rugby League convert didn't do much wrong, but was he the right choice for man of the match?
No, I don't think so. He scored 2 tries, but apart from that, he was a bit anonymous. He didn't really do much kind of pounding of the ball. He seemed to only touch it when he scored. So no, I don't think he was man of the match. I take it then it was the Fox Australia that awarded it, which which logically means they would have gone for him. I mean, he's great tries, superb tries. He's got some serious skills on him, great feet. But no, I think man of the match was a bit generous.
Well, generous, yes. Genia would have been a more logical choice, I would have thought. I mean, Folau finished well, but then they were just 2 finishes, I thought. I mean, he was nowhere for defensively for North Strike. I mean, did you even see him in shot?
No, I don't think so.
I think he was covering infield a bit more, because I think that's what he was doing. But I thought he had a decent game. To be fair to him, he made over 100 metres. He did make a few tackles. To be fair to him, and he made some clean breaks and beat some defenders. I know he didn't do much else from that, but I said Gainey was pretty good, but he had his moments where he faded in and out. But I don't think could you give it to a Lion? That's the question.
What a player on the winning side? Yeah,
well, but not saying that. Out of that, who would you give it to? North?
I know what you mean. There wasn't the Lions played well as a team, but there wasn't one guy that stood out. They were good, but no, I don't think no one player was great. So yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. I'm not so stupid as to suggest that only a player on the winning side can get man of the match, because that's clearly not right. But you are right. North was a standout. I mean, he scored 1 try, amazing try. Could easily have scored another. He was a constant threat. I thought Tom Young's was class. Club Sierra scrummaged well and carried well, and Halfpenny again nailed the majority of his kicks that Australia's kickers didn't. So there were a few options you could have gone for, but I still have gone for Genia.
Yeah, Tom Young was very impressive. He was brilliant. His line-out was, I think, flawless. I don't think we lost one on his throw. He was very, very dynamic in the loose. So yeah, very impressed with him. And there's no reason why he shouldn't start certainly the next test and probably both the next 2 tests.
I think he's come of age on tour, to be honest. You pick. When you sit down and jot your thing. People thought, I had him down as my 3rd choice hooker. And I was very, I thought Rory Best and Hibbard would be the guys competing. But if you look at it, Youngs is the man who's just risen to the challenge and wants that 2 shirts, and it shows, Yeah. And I think also there's some of the lines like Ian mentioned, some of the lines, in his runs, some of the lines he takes is because that centre is
playing you off as a back.
Yeah, because he's played a centre until he converted. So he in theory, he still thinks he's a centre, but he's actually a hooker. So he's able to do the little, read the lines a bit more than some of the other boys, and that's why he's so effective in the loose, to be honest.
Yeah, he has the best of both worlds.
Aye.
Yes. The first test had plenty of memorable incidents. One that wrangles with British fans and has for the rest of the week is the James Hall incident. Where Australia's captain was let off from what was perceived in the British media, at least, as a blatant stamp on Alwyn Jones's face. What do we make of this, guys?
Well, I didn't see the incident live. I only noticed it when it was reported following the game. But I've since seen the footage, and I think he's very lucky to get away with a ban. But equally, it's harsh for the media to say it was blatant or malicious. I don't think it was. It was certainly reckless. He certainly wasn't looking where he was going. But any kind of contact with the head with foot is bannable. So I think he's very lucky to avoid 1 week. Might even got 2, but it wasn't malicious. I don't think so.
Yeah, well, Ian says it's not malicious. Rob, are you as naive as he is?
I'm not quite sure, because at the time I didn't see the incident, and it wasn't until I got back home and then somebody tweeted me to say, "Have you seen what Hallwell's done?" And I looked at it, and I'm not sold 100% he's done it intentionally, but then again, it depends what angle you look, what angle you're looking at, and obviously, is Hall a dirty player? At the time, it's a heat of the moment thing. Has he decided he's gonna, put his knee in there or whatever, or hasn't? He's obviously done it. He's obviously connected with Alan Wynne-Jones, but the tough thing is to prove he's done it on purpose. And without him being honest, I don't think you can prove it, to be honest.
Well, maybe we'll have to give him the benefit of the doubt then. I think we shall move swiftly on. We're going to briefly talk about today's Lions match. The midweek team took on the Melbourne Rebels at AMA Stadium. Unfortunately, only Ian managed to catch this live, so we shall head over straight to Mr. Miles with what he made of the game.
Well, like all these tour games, it's hard to say because for the most part, the Rebels were under strength. They didn't have many of their first team players, obviously a lot of them Australian duty, so it's tough to really give a kind of an accurate representation of the game. But overall, I think it was a good showing for the Lions. We nilled them, which I think the defence and Farrell's going to be very, very pleased about. And there were some good personal showings. I think Owen Farrell had a very, very good game. He was taking the ball a lot flatter and actually gave the centres and wingers the chance to take the ball at speed, which was good. There was some good performances all around.
Yeah, I agree with that. Watching back on the highlights just before doing this podcast, the one thing I noticed was, again, there was a little bit of a breakdown. There's still a little bit of gaps there, and they were, the Rebels were once or twice allowed to, to exploit it. Although, we didn't, the Lions didn't concede. If Gaynor again looks up and sees his gaps, he will just muller the Lions. So I think that's still a little bit to notch up. But one thing I was really, really impressed with watching it was how quick the ball was coming back to Conor Murray. I mean, obviously Gatlin, from the weekend wasn't too impressed with how slow Phillips was getting the ball. Now, I'm not making excuses for Phillips' performance Saturday. I know we've discussed it, haven't discussed it or whatever. But Murray was able to have quick ball, which allowed Farrell to bring Tuilagi in and get the boys across the game line, which I thought was really, really good.
Yeah, I think on the weekend a lot of Mike Phillips' woes were his own making. When he did get the ball, he wasn't as he usually isn't quick off the base of the ruck. He picks the ball up, hangs around, looks to see if he can have a bit of a snipe. And when he got ensnared by a couple of second rows, then he's made to look like like an inadequate scrum half.
Yeah, but Australia planned that. That was part of their homework they've done.
Yeah,
they know that's what Phillips does.
Yeah, he went down the short side for far too much, and you could tell that game plan had been changed because Murray went straight away to the back line for the most part. So hopefully Phillips can learn from that, or certainly realise what he did wrong for Saturday.
Yeah, well, as one of the best, or supposedly one of the best scrum halves in international rugby, you'd expect him to be clever enough to counter the counter.
Yeah, I think Phillips, he gets too involved. I mean, the Australians forwards, they front up a physical threat, and being Mike Phillips, he's done this throughout his career. He's always wanted to match any physical threat with another one from himself. So I think he saw them going down. I think in his head, he's kind of like, okay, they're kind of smashing the blind side. I'll smash them back without really thinking, what about the open side? That's free. I think that's the sort of his kind of train of thought. He's got to get over that. He's got to stay kind of out of the physical battle, because the last thing you want the scrum half to do, for the most part, is get involved with the forwards, because most part, 9 times out of 10, the forwards are going to win that battle. So he's got to take a slight step back from the physical battle and speak to his fly half, speak to Sexton or Farrell, whoever it's going to be, and get that ball going to the backs quicker.
Yeah, well, before we move on to talk about the second test, Ian, after today's game, have any players stood up enough to be included on the bench or even the test team for Saturday?
I think Falatau does. He's been outstanding on the games where he's played in midweek. Again today, he was a constant source of distress for the Rebels defence. He carried well, he passed well, he scrapped to the floor well. And I think, he deserves a bench shot. I go in from the start, to be honest, but he certainly deserves a go on the bench. But there's the back row has been all we said kind of back in kind of the spring. Kind of this is always going to be a tough bit for the Lions to sort out. Is the back row and all the good players we've got. So I think he deserves a bench. I'd start him, but he's played well.
Yeah, well, just as I said, watch the game. Toby Falatau was outstanding today. I really thought he was genuinely class. Not always the biggest fan of him, but I thought today he was really, really good. He did a lot of things, turnovers. He was a nuisance at the breakdown, present to the line out. Yeah, I don't see. He must. He's given a headache to Gatland now. Does Gatland look at putting him in for the test? On Saturday. That's the question.
Well, yeah. There's been a lot of talk, as you said, for months about the back row, and but it's come down to it. I've been a bit underwhelmed, really, with selection. I mean, they're all good players, but it's not barnstorming, is it? And before Killian screams his house down, I'm going to give a bit of love to Sean O'Brien as well. I'm going to say that he should be starting the blindside on Saturday.
Well, yeah, I agree. I think personally
because he's class, and yeah, he was class today as well.
I can't see Gatland changing the back row, though. That's my issue. But I love to see the back row after today's performance of Sean O'Brien, Warburton, and Falatau. But it won't realistically happen. Maybe he might swap one out, so maybe Sean O'Brien in at 6 or Falatau in at 8. But I can't see him manoeuvring.
Yeah, I mean, the main criticism that a lot of people have with Sean O'Brien is that he gives away too many penalties. But you counter that by saying, yeah, but he does that by getting involved where you want the back group getting involved. He does that by fighting on the ball, fighting for the ball. And I think, so people criticise him for that. That's his job. He gets it very, very good. So does everybody. Everyone gets penalised at some point. So I think that criticism is very harsh. And yeah, I think he should certainly get in with a shot. But it's a tough one.
Yeah, we all assume that not much is going to change in the back row then, seeing as Gatland's pretty adamant with his selection policy. We're pretty much sure that Jeff Parlin will step in for the injured Paul O'Connell in the second row. Can you see any other changes being made, or what would you change, if anything?
There's a lot of talk about Bo being fit and his where he's going to slot in. A lot of people calling for Cuthbert to get dropped, but I can't see why you could justify that. He scored a try in a winning game, and he played overall well. So I mean, yeah, Bo's arguably the better all-round player, but he's just come back for injury. So I'd stick him on the bench and keep Cuthbert starting.
But it all depends, if the stories emerging now that Corbisiero and Roberts aren't fit. I hope that God Roberts is fit, because I genuinely believe we missed him Saturday. As for Corbisiero, yeah, he'd be another blow. So it'd be interesting to see, do they look at putting Tuilagi in with Bod if Roberts not fit? I don't think John Davis had a particularly good game, but again, goes back to Gatland's consistent. He doesn't tend to drop boys, he does give them a chance. So, if you're looking at that, but then up front, if Corbisiero isn't fit, who do you slot in at loose end? Do you go with Vunipola? Or do you look at saying, right, Ryan Grant, here we are, another chance for you, let's have a go? Or do you shove in Tom Court?
I go with Vunipola. I rate him so much. I'm slightly biased the fact he's an ex-Bristol player, and I basically watched him for a season a couple of years back. But he's done so well on this tour. He deserves his shot. He's played so well in all the games he has played in, be it starting or coming off the bench. So he deserves a shot in the Test match. Yeah, definitely.
I don't disagree. He doesn't deserve. He does deserve a shot. Sorry, but I thought his performance when he came off the bench on Saturday left much to be desired.
It shows that he's still pretty green. I think he's got a lot to learn in Test rugby. I think he deserves a shot. He's given so much on this tour. He's played so much rugby as well to prove himself. If it doesn't work out, there's going to be an experienced or a solid scrummager in Grant on the bench to call upon.
Is Grant the man that's going to get that nod then?
I would have thought so, yeah. Look back into the backline again. John Davis didn't. He wasn't spectacular, was he? But he didn't do anything wrong. Tuolangi tonight, he looked hungry for it, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He looked good. When he didn't get the ball as much as I'd like him to have got the ball, but when he did, he certainly looked like he was wanting to make ground, and he did on most times. It is a tough one. Yeah, Davis played well. There's no kind of reason. Again, no reason you drop him apart from is Tuolangi arguably the better player. It's a real tough one. I think Gatton will stick with his guns, and I would stick with the guns as well. I'd say keep Davis because he's played well on the tour. Everyone's played well on the tour, really. It's a bit of a misnomer saying that, but I think Davis deserves his spot, and I think he should keep it.
Yeah, going back to your earlier point on Cuthbert as well, just to have my say, a lot of people are iffy with him. He had a shaky start when he knocked on that high ball. And you're thinking, is he going to have one of those games? But for that try in the second half, no other winger in that squad finishes that try. Tommy Bowe does not finish that try. He hasn't got the pace or the power to finish that. He is up there with the best try scorers in the world right now. And for me, he is starting on Saturday.
Yeah, well, the main criticism he has is he's not the best defender. Which is a valid point. He's not the best defender, but he counters that by scoring the try he would concede at the other end. So they almost kind of cancel each other out. He might concede one, but he could easily go and score a hat trick. So that's the way I kind of look at it. To me, the primary job of winger is to score tries. That's what Cuthbert gives. He might concede penalties or miss tackles, but that's why you have a fullback. So.
I'm in a split thing. I was debating it today with a couple of people outside of work, and I feel Cuthbert's done well. He hasn't merited a drop, but Tommy Bowe's that special type of player, and you feel that with him in the side, something magical could well happen. And he does give you that option because he will cut inside. He has got the skills to offload. He is defensively sound, but as Ian quite rightly said, it'd be tough to drop Cuthbert. So, tough.
Well, he could be a solution to the centre issue. If Grodrisko could play 12, and I'm sure he probably could, Bowe could play 13, and he's done well outside centre. It's a bit out of left field, I know.
You're going into the realms of fantasy now again, I think.
Yeah, we'll edit that bit out, shall we?
But we're going to move on to the opposition now, and just talk briefly about Australia's injury worries. Cristiano Lefano is looking like he might be okay for Saturday, but Digby Ioane and Pat McCabe have been ruled out. And there are concerns over the Berwick Barnes after yet another head collision suffered on the weekend. Do the Australians stand any chance with this many changes having to be enforced?
They always have a chance. They've got a strong setup. It was quite scary the amount of people that went off with neck and head injuries. The amount of time that stretcher came on was a bit unnerving. But none of them were. They were all accidents, and these things happen. But they always have a chance. They're going to miss the players they've got ruled out. But I mean, Ioane was actually fairly anonymous. He didn't do a whole lot in that game, so I'm not sure who they're going to put in. But if they put in the guy that scored to try and get for the Reds, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But yeah, he's arguably more dangerous threat based on what we've seen so far.
Well, I think you've got to be aware and very wary of a very wounded Australian side, because they'll turn up. Whatever players they'll shove in, they will come 110% back at the Lions, and especially being 1-0 down now in a series at home. It could be 2001 all over again job. So the Lions have really got to really focus on this and really, put it out of the bag. To be honest, I say Australia missing players, but so are the Lions. So. It's going to be a good test Saturday. It's going to be a good test.
Yeah, the injuries on Saturday, as you say, they were concerning, but it just reminded me so much of the second test in South Africa 4 years ago, where the same thing happened to the Lions. Just as you said on Saturday, these are all accidents, whereas you could say for the Lions they weren't in South Africa, but that's another story, I guess.
Well, yeah, it is, it is another story, but I mean, it's just part and parcel of rugby. I think you look at it, some of those injuries. I've seen some silly stuff on social networking calling for is it North to be banned for the push on Berwick Barnes. But,
yeah, stupid.
That's just blatantly ridiculous. That's just something that just happened. It's not, he hasn't intentionally gone right. I want to make sure Barnes gets hurt here, and I've shoved this guy into it. It's just ludicrous, But as Ian quite rightly said, it is concerning, but the amount of injuries, especially in very sensitive parts of the body. But as part and parcel of rugby, the boys know when they step on the pitch, that's what's going to happen. What was the risk?
Well, all that considered, then, trying to be impartial, boys. What is the score going to be on Saturday, Ian?
It's a tough one. It's going to be an even test. I think the Australians will come back. I think they might just sneak it. I think it'll be a 21-15 Australia win. I hope I'm wrong.
You are. Are you being serious?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I can't. Again, I'm sticking with the Lions. I can't see them not losing. They're on this streak. Momentum.
Not kidding me.
So I'm going for 23-17 to the Lions.
I think it's going to be close. It's going to be a close one again. I think it's going to be even closer still. It's going to be 22-21 to the Lions.
I'm not sure I can cope with another close one.
I think he's going to be brilliant, just like last week's was. And Sam Warden's going to be man of the match.
Prediction that bold.
Time seems to have slipped us by. Sorry, Curtly, poor wording. And that's the final whistle on today's podcast. My thanks to Rob and Ian for their insight tonight. For up-to-the-minute news, views and reaction on the Lions tour and all things oval-shaped, head over to therugbyforum.com, where you can also indulge in banter, controversial calls and more juvenile finger-pointing than a night in with the George North Appreciation Society. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.